9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's Fluent Top 10s.
Yes. What's up, people? I'm back. My vacation was fun. And I wanted to, hey, if you haven't gone and checked out last week's episode with Fluent Jr. and my girl, Mini Magic, we did top 10 waters. It was a blind taste test. We had a lot of fun doing it. The kids are going to be back. We're going to do some other shows as well. But this week, I'm going to invite you guys up if you think you can debunk my theories. But this week, I'm going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart because I've said many times that I believe nothing of what I've heard about Wilt Chamberlain, aka George Marcus. For those of you who don't know who that is, that's his alter ego that he apparently in high school was playing professional basketball and putting up 70 points in the playoffs as George Marcus because he was too young. Excuse me. I don't believe anything about Wilt Chamberlain. I don't believe he had a 50-inch vertical. I don't believe he bench pressed 500 pounds. I believe he was a really nice player for his time. But let's be honest. Even the women from the age of 8 until the day he died, one a day. Just do that math. A different one. Not the same one repetitively. A different one every single day from the day he turned 8 until the day he died. If that doesn't tell you he's a fraud right there, I don't know what does. But today we're going to do a top 10 list, right? The proof is in the pudding. Top 10 reasons why Wilt either didn't score 100 points or it was fixed. And I've done the research. I've brought it for you. I've brought it for you because the truth, this isn't about hate. This isn't about slander. This is about truth and facts and being fluent, right? Fluent in sports doesn't mean we believe narratives and we buy into the BS. We dive deeper. We look into it. We don't find things that say, hey, this is what I believe. Let me find stuff that proves what I believe. No. Salute to everyone in the chat. We look up and see what's real. So we're going to do it. We're going to do the top 10 list. Of course, we're going to do that. I'm going to go through. I'm going to actually give you 11 because I'm going to give you an honorable mention. If you feel you have something that proves, definitively proves that Wilt did score 100, come up and prove it. Heck, if you want to prove something else, come up and prove it. I haven't been live in a couple of weeks. Like I said, last week was a pre-recorded show. We were down in Florida with the kids. So I've got some energy. If you've been watching my TikTok the last couple of days, I'm back with some attitude. So let us look at first. Where do we want to start? Let me start with the honorable mention. So this won't be on the top 10 list. This one won't be on the top 10 list. Number 11. This is a bit of a conspiracy. You know how I feel about, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. Not gonna lie. Salute, Pierre. Number 11. I don't believe this one, but it's worth mentioning. Number 11, time travel. There is a theory out there. You can go look it up. There is a theory out there that Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game was a result of time travel. Now, there's two different theories. One is that they came back in time to make sure that he scored his 100 points. The other is that Wilt was a time traveler himself who came back in time to score 100 points. That one gets honorable mention because it sounds a little ridiculous, but I don't know. Now we're starting to see Bigfoot. I know we saw Bigfoot, live footage of Bigfoot Go look it up. It's now there's Bigfoot, the UFOs were out there, and it lasted 3 minutes on the news cycle. Real UFOs. So fine. All right. Honorable mention gets that one. So let's get into the real ones, because that one, let's be honest, that one's a little, I don't know that I even believe in that one. All right. So let me see. Chat. I'm going to read your chats. Super chats are not preferably super chats. But let's go. Number 10. Number 10. Can you see number 10? Oh, number 10. Let me remove the banner so you can see number 10 for a second. Number 10. The Knicks center refused. The Knicks center refused. So what do we mean by that? So, as you know, on March 2nd, 1962, March 2nd, 1962, the Philadelphia Warriors were traveling. There was a home game, and they were playing in Hershey, Pennsylvania against the New York Knicks. A fellow by the name of Phil Jordan, 6'11" center for the Knicks, had the flu. Some say he was hungover because he was out the night before partying with Wilt in New York. Said he had the flu. Others, however, say that Phil was told that Wilt's going to go off tonight for a record amount of points, and you need to let him do it. They said no, or at least Phil said no. I won't be a part of that. I'm out, and that's why he wasn't at the game. So they say it was a flu-like symptoms, and that's why he didn't go to the game. I don't know. In 1962, was the flu stopping you from playing, or hungover? Was that stopping players from playing? I don't know. They were supposed to be tough. They were supposed to play through anything. So I don't know that I believe that it was the flu. Here's the other thing. The person that replaced Phil Jordan in the starting rotation, I'm off, another 6'10" center, 20 minutes. And we'll get to this a little bit more in a second. In 20 minutes, he fouled out. So 28 minutes of the game. So there was no center. So number 10, just to recap, number 10 is that the Knicks center refused to play. Boy Wonder, salute. Knicks center refused to play. And that's what gave Wilt his 100. Wilt dropped 100. Let's be real. Oh, I'm going to be real. All you can say is he did it. I'm giving you the top 10 reasons why he did not. All right. Number 9. Number 9. Oh, I like how I do this. I know this is, you can't see what I'm doing in the backstage, but it's cool. Number 9. Oh, I went too far. There we go. Number 9. Number 9. The Knicks schemed. You're going to see like 10, 9, and 8 are very Knicks-centric. But number 9 is that the Knicks schemed to allow him to score. Now, there's two trains of thought when I say schemed. Here's number 1. Number 1 is that they were, again, told to allow him to score. There's lots of reports of Knicks players, of players who are related to and new Knicks players from back then that said, oh yeah, they said, just let him go off. Let him score his points. Let's focus on the others. Let's focus on the other players on the team. But here's the more interesting one. So as the game is progressing and he's scoring his points, and there's even, and we're going to get to this too, an argument of how many points he had scored in the first half. In the fourth quarter, Wilt Chamberlain himself, in his book, said that the Knicks were holding the ball for the full 24 seconds. The Knicks were holding the ball for the full 24 seconds. So if he's scoring all these points and they're actually trying to stop him and they're holding the ball for 24 seconds, how is it possible that he got to 100 points? Well, the Warriors countered that story and said, oh, that's because we were purposely fouling the Knicks. We were purposely fouling the Knicks so that the clock would stop and we can get Wilt the ball back. So riddle me this, Batman. If they were purposely fouling the Knicks at the end of the game, let me do a little math for you. So they had a 9-man roster, 10-man roster, excuse me. Over 500 bench press. Sure. 10-man roster, excuse me. We already talked that Phil was a scratch. So there was 9. I'm off balloons. I'm off. I don't know where those balloons come from still to this day. I'm off fouled out in 20 minutes. So the last 28 minutes of the game, so the better part of the second half and some, they only had 7 players available to play. One of them being Wilt. Of those 7 players, for a team that was fouling on purpose, how come only 3 of them had 4 or 5 fouls? The rest of them only had 1 or 2 fouls? Does that sound like a team that was intentionally fouling at the end of the game to stop the clock to get Wilt? Or is it more believable that the Knicks were holding the ball for 24 seconds and not allowing him to get shots up? You be the judge of that one, because we're only at number 9. We're only at number 9. We're going to get to number 8 here. And number 8, Wilt and the Knicks together. They conspired. Okay? They conspired to do this. How do we know that we know that they were together, right? There's no question that they were together because everybody has said Wilt was in New York going to Hershey, Pennsylvania and he went there with the Knicks. In fact, after the game, he drove back to New York with the Knicks. FYI, guys, New York City to Hershey today is a 3-hour drive. Imagine in 1962 when you didn't have the luxury of having freeways and cars that could go over 50 or 20 miles an hour. Let's not forget. So that was probably a 4 or a 5-hour drive that they did together. We can get to the timing of the drives in a second, but they drove together. So when people say they conspired, well, heck, they had 5 hours in a car to do it. We're going to get to why. We're going to get to why they did that. There was only one bus that took players from the arena to the hotel. Another lie. There was no hotels in Hershey, Pennsylvania that would allow certain players to stay there, which is why they commuted to the game and back to New York that night. So Pierre, now you're more fluent. All right. So number 9 is they conspired as they drove the 5 hours back and forth. Okay. Why is it hard to believe? It's not. Which takes me to number 7. Now, this is where we get good. I really think this is where we get good. So let me recap. Number 10 is that the Knicks center, Phil Jordan, didn't have the flu, was not hungover because he would have played through it. In fact, he was refusing to go along with the conspiracy to allow Wilt to score a bunch of points, and we'll get to the reasons why they would have asked him to do that in a second. Number 9, the Knicks scheme. So their defensive scheme was to allow, so two trains of thought here that we've heard. One was that the Knicks defensive scheme was to allow him to score and not lose to the other guys. The other was the inconsistency with the stories, where Wilt had said they were holding the ball for 24 seconds, waiting for the clock to run out, and the Warriors coaches and teammates were saying they were fouling those players to stop the clock so they can get the ball back. Yet the total foul amount, right, does not coincide with that theory that they were fouling him, because the one person who had fouled out, other than that, there was only, there's 7 players on the roster. 4 of them only had 1 or 2 fouls. So how is it possible that they were all fouling, and only 2-3 guys had 4 or 5 fouls? Doesn't make sense. All right. Facts, Fluent. Yeah, see? Let's go back. I like facts. You write about the hotel situation from Philly. I know Hershey, Pennsylvania well. Low key, they kind of still. Oh, okay, well, that's. I'm sorry to hear that. That's very unfortunate. All right, let's go to this is one of my favorites. Number 7. Number 7, the second scorecard. The second scorecard. I don't know if you've heard this. And you know what? I think I have a picture of the scorecard here somewhere. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can pull it up on screen, but I'll show it to you from my phone. So I challenge you. Here's where I challenge you. I challenge you to look at this scorecard and tell me that someone in the course of a game, could have had been doing it this neatly, over the course of the game. And we're going to get to something else here in a second. But that neatly. So the theory is that there was the one scorecard that was the actual game scorecard. And Michael, you were not there because there's about 150 million people who said they were there, but there's only 4,100 people in an 8,000 seat stadium, by the way. About half. Link to a better picture. Yeah, I'll put that in the chat in a minute. That's the best one I could get because they don't want you to see the truth. So, and there's more on that scorecard coming up here in a second. But the scorecard, the theory of the second scorecard is that they had the one scorecard that was the official, hey, this is the game, we're going to keep track of it, and then no one saw it because all the ones you see after kind of, I'll see if I can pull this one up for you guys. All the ones that you see after are kind of look like this. I'll pull it up for you here. It's this print. Have you seen this one? Right? They try to trick you. You know, then they show you this one. Well, you know that they didn't print it up, right? That was after the fact that they printed it. So they try to show you that one. Interesting on this one too. The Knicks had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players on this list, 10 players on the other scorecard. We know that only Jordan was a healthy scratch, so he's on that other one. So that other scorecard had 10 players, including Jordan, but then they crossed him out because he didn't play. And then this one only has 8 players. So there's already discrepancies between one thing and the other. And we'll get to more discrepancies on the scorecards here in a second. But that's where the scorecard, the fake scorecard sold for $214,000. So the second scorecard theory is one that I like actually quite a bit. Why? Well, it takes us to number 6. Here is number 6. Why would they do all this? Why would they ask the New York Knicks to allow them to score? Why would they, scheme to allow him to score? Why did Wilt and the New York Knicks travel together to conspire to allow this, if it did happen? Why was there a second scorecard? Well, the NBA needed attention. That's not a theory. That's not a guess. That's
Acknowledge me.
That's the NBA asking to be acknowledged, asking to be seen because, well, they weren't getting the attention that they needed, right? We know up until like 79, right? And this was 62. Up until 79, the NBA was losing money. So they needed a story. They needed attention. They needed publicity. Well, what better way to do that than to have this mythological player, this Wilt, the stilt, this guy that's bigger than life, score a miraculous 100 points. 100 points because they needed the publicity. In fact, Bill Campbell said, oh no, we're going to get to that in a second. They needed the attention. So that's what that was. They needed the attention. I'm jumping ahead because I'm so excited about this list that I'm jumping ahead. And it's not crazy to think, right? That's why were they in Hershey in the first place? Well, they were in Hershey because they didn't have TV deals, right? And so how could they only had local radio broadcasts. So how else could they kind of get fans from outside of their area? So, right, from outside of Philadelphia, from outside of New York. Well, they would do this. It wasn't unusual for them to play mutual site games. In this case, it was in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where they had played multiple times before, trying to get more fans. So what's a better way to get more fans than to do something that's exceptional? Because what happens? Well, you can go look it up yourself and you'll see every newspaper on the top of the sports page that people still read newspapers back then. They all went in And that was the lead story. Wilt's 100. Wilt's 100. Wilt breaks his own record. Wilt's 100. It became a thing. So publicity stunt. That's an easy one. Number five is something that no one denies. No one actually denies this in the 50s and 60s, was that there was inflated stats.
We do not care.
They did not care about accuracy. They did not care about, the game. They literally just threw numbers out. There are so many stories of Wilt in particular, but others, walking off the court and saying, "Hey, I had 12 rebounds that quarter. Mark it down." "Oh, yes, Mr. Chamberlain." And they're writing it down. In fact, a guy and I wish I could remember his name, but a guy that was on the court with Wilt when he scored the 100th point, I put in air quotes, walked off the court to the statistician and said, "Hey, I assisted on that." And they marked him down as the official assist for Wilt's 100 points. Just imagine you get to walk off the court and tell people what you did.
Snap back to reality.
No, it didn't happen. All right. Now we get into the good stuff. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break for a second and look at some of your chats. I'm gonna recap the 10 through 5. I'll let you know that this episode of It's Fluent Top 10s is brought to you by the Ride Automotive Group. If you are in this Simi Valley area and looking for a Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram, check out Simi Valley Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep. Ride Automotive. So here's the recap. Shameless plug. Here's the recap. Number 10, the Knicks center. Why Wilt Chamberlain did not score 100, or it was a conspiracy. It was fixed. Number 10, the Knicks center Jordan refused, and that's why he wasn't at the game. He was not hungover. He did not have the flu. Number 9, the Knicks schemed to allow him to score his 100. The like button is free of charge. Please feel free. That's number 9. And that's number 9 is like 9A and 9B. The Knicks scheme to allow him defensively to score, or B is the inconsistency because Wilt Chamberlain in his book said they were in the fourth quarter, were holding the ball for 24 seconds, not allowing him to get his hands on it, while the Warriors said, no, we were fouling them to get the ball back into his hands. But the fouls on the Warriors, the number does not make sense. Number 8, why did Wilt travel to and from the game with the Knicks if there wasn't something shady going on? Let's be honest. I think you all remember what's his name? HBK, Shawn Michaels, was traveling with Triple H and Vince McMahon on this epic night in Montreal. And they swore up and down. Shawn said, I didn't know Vince was going to do that to Brett. Triple H says, I swear up and down, I didn't know they were going to do that to Brett. Vince McMahon said, no, I didn't tell them a thing. Years later, after the Montreal Screwjob, what did we find out? They absolutely knew. They absolutely conspired. That's why they were traveling together. You're kind of confused on number 9. Rigged or not, 100 points still happened. Hey, this is a top 10 list of reasons it didn't happen or that it was a setup. All right. So that's why it's there, because it's one or the other. So here we go. Where were we? Number 7, the second scorecard. This is the one that I believe to be 100% true, is that he did not score 100 points. And that there was a second scorecard that was later put together. That's why you see this generic printed up version, typed out version after the fact to say, oh, yeah. In fact, he did score 100. And there's discrepancies between that one and the official one that was written out. All right. And it takes us to 6. Why would they conspire to do it? Why would they allow him to do it? Why would they lie that he did it if he didn't? And it's because the NBA needed attention. They needed publicity. They were a league that was losing money, and they needed to get publicity. So it just made sense to make it work. All right. Why did I take down the list? Number 5, inflated stats. Very, very common in the 60s that they just put up numbers. It's not something that was new. All right. So it brings us to number 4. And we got a lot of stuff on number 4. We got a lot of stuff on number 4. Number 4 is one stat guy. All right. There's a lot here. One stat guy. Oh, I was going to read some of your chats. I'll get to your chats in a second. But let me do number 4 because there's a lot on number 4. I have to look here because there's so much on number 4. One stat guy. So the first thing. Who was the statistician for the game? Who was the statistician for the game?
Hey, yo.
Because on one side, you have Harvey Pollack, who was the PR guy for the Warriors. Harvey Pollack, who also said in interviews and in his book that he was the statistician for the game. He was the one statistician for the game. So let me challenge this before I get to, because there's more. Let me challenge this. Have you guys ever watched an NBA basketball game? Try to do it from the floor level, first row. Add, I don't know, about 2,000 cigarette smokers puffing and passing behind you. Oh, that's a different kind of smoke.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
So add the smoke. So now you're sitting front row. I want you to do this for a game. I challenge you. I will put up an amount of money, okay, to sit at a scorer's table by yourself. I don't know, maybe block one eye or something because to compensate for all the smoke. Okay. Have these guys run up and down the court and score. Keep this in mind. The score of the game was 169-147. 169-147. That's 316 points. That's a point every 8 seconds, plus fouls, plus free throws, right? You're the only person. I challenge you to watch a quarter of a game, a half of a game, and try to keep the stats. Don't cheat. Don't do anything. Just watch and tick, 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 tick. Try to keep the score of the game by yourself with a pencil, okay? With a pencil and a paper. I want you to keep it. I know this isn't the greatest, but it's not my fault. It's the best that we have. Try to keep it this neat. Try to keep it. Look how neat that is within the lines. Okay? Keep it that neat. And at the end of the quarter or at the end of the half, with a pace that quick by yourself, and then go look and say what you have as a score and points for each player and fouls for each player and free throws made for each player. And then go look at the actual, because now we have them, the actual game stats. You show me and prove to me that you can do that 100% accurately just for a quarter. And then maybe I'll believe, maybe, because we don't have games that play this fast anymore. Try to do it with the NBA All-Star game, maybe. And then maybe I'll believe that one statistician was able to do that with a pencil in a smoky, dimly lit arena in 1962. That's when I'll believe it.
Another one.
Oh yeah, there's more. There's more, DJ Khaled. There's more. So the other problem is this one stat guy. Well, was it Dave Richter or was it Harvey Pollack? Because if you go look, you'll see another set of stories about the 100-point game that said it was Dave Richter who was the one and only statistician for the Warriors, and Harvey Pollack was just the PR guy for the Warriors. Well, which one is it? They both claim to be the one and only statistician. So now we've got indiscrepancies with the scorecards in terms of, like I said, I showed you the written up one only had 8 players. The typed up one only had 8 players. The written up one had 10 players. And then we have two different people claiming to be the one and only statistician. Well, that doesn't make sense, does it? No, it does not. So, the one and only statistician. That's the one really. I know it's number 4, right? It's number 4 here on the list. But I feel like maybe it should be higher because it's a lie. We know it's a lie. Somebody's lying. You can't have two people be the one and only statistician. So somebody is lying, someone is telling the truth. Okay?
I'm a doom, you assuming I'm a human. What I gotta do to get it through to you? I'm superhuman, innovative, and I made a rebel so that anything.
There's more? Oh, there's more with this one stat guy. There's more with the one stat guy. Oh, I love this. The statistician, the one and only statistician, also had to bring in the ditto machine. I believe that's a copier. And it had all this purple ink on it. And we talked to guys who used the ditto machine, and they said 90-something% of the scorecards would have little purple fingerprints because it was the same person that kept the stats that had to deal with his ditto machine and get the purple stats on it. I don't know about you. I'll show this to you again. Do you see any purple smudges? No, it looks like to be in perfect condition. Like with all the ruckus and the crowd storming the court and not one smudge on this scorecard that this one person had who was part of the melee, according to him. Okay. I don't know that I believe it. Oh, this one statistician. I love this. This is more from Harvey Pollack's book. Harvey Pollack said that he arrived at the stadium. Nope. No. Sorry, Michael. See, this is why I like you. Maybe they rewrote it. Nope. They said that's the original. That's why it sold for $215,000. They said this was the official game written scorecard. So no, it wasn't. All right. I'm gonna look through your chats real quick and see if there's or send some through. I'm gonna read some of them. Let's see. Salute. A lot of salutes. Salute. There are countless amount of Hall of Famers. Yes, there are. Don't disrespect Wilt. Why not? I'm not disrespecting Wilt. I'm just calling him out for being fake. And I don't even blame Wilt for it. It was probably something that they went to him and said, hey, we need you to do this for the league. Because it didn't happen. You have Arnold and others who said Wilt was strong. Sure, he was strong, but 500 pounds? I've heard Arnold say he benched 500 pounds, but I also heard Arnold say he was going to be faithful to his wife. He was not. Me and Jada Pickett. Jada Pickett. I don't even want to talk about that. We're going to talk about that a little bit on Fluent and Chill, I think, on Thursday. It's already been witnessed. No, it has not. Let's see. Anything else? Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest athlete in NBA history. That includes Jordan and LeBron. Go look at his track and field stats to back it up. Do you believe him? Do you believe Wilt's track stats? Because his track stats, what's the other thing about those times? They were hand-timed. You guys don't believe Dion's 40-yard dash time because it was hand-timed. You don't believe Jordan's 48-inch vertical because it wasn't kind of official. And you're going to believe 1960s Wilt Chamberlain, who probably came off the 100-yard dash and said, I ran a 9.9, right? I don't believe that. He jumped 6'6", ran 440 in 49 seconds, and the 880 in 1 minute and 58 seconds. Put the shot put 53 feet and 4 inches, and broad jump 22 feet. I bet you not one of those things is true. All right, where were we? We're at number 4. Okay, so we're going to get to number 3. What's number 3? Oh, this one actually makes the most sense. Let's be honest. We know about the 1919 Black Sox. Jaquan, before we get to that, Jaquan I can't say or post what you just said, but we already proved that was wrong, because it wasn't just 20,000 women. It was 20,000 different women, never the same one twice, which means a different one every single day from the age of 8 until the day that he died. So keep that in mind. So number 3 is a betting scandal. So this one I like, is that the NBA, the teams, the Knicks were a bad team that year, by the way, and they had some debt that they had to recover. And so there were some, let's say, less than honest people who were placing wagers on this game and needed certain things to happen. Wilt scoring a certain amount of points, or the team scoring a certain amount of points, that that played into all the other things. So when you look at 10, 9, and 8, right, when we look at the Senators refusing to play, the schemes that was allowing it, Wilt and the Knicks conspiring, a lot of those could be related back to number 3, which is this betting scandal. Now, we know in boxing, in baseball, and heck, in basketball, we know, the ref, Donaghy, was having some issues with the mob, and he did certain things, and there was some point shaving and some foul calls, and they did things to change the complexity of some games. So why not think that was the case in 1962, right? The Phantom Punch with Muhammad Ali, right? I already mentioned the Black Sox. Like, it's not new. It's not new. Point shaving, yeah, thanks, T-Rev. Point shaving in the 80s. Like, to think that there wasn't some kind of betting scandal that could have shifted the trajectory of a game, right? Let's be real. Like, it's not like he wasn't a guy averaging 48.5 minutes per game, 50 points a game as it was. So for someone to say, hey, I need him to score 100 for any one of these reasons is not crazy to think. But now here's where we get to the good ones. Here's where we get to the good ones. Number two. You snuck a little peek at number 1. Number 2. One photographer, kind of. So what do I mean by that? So I don't know if you know, but in the first half of the game, there was no pictures taken. According to everyone there was nothing happening. Harvey Pollack, this is what I love. Harvey Pollack came out and said they had scored 49. Wilt had scored 49 points in the first half. Not true. He scored 41, but he said he scored 49, and he went to the photographer sitting in the stands with his son and said, "Hey, you should probably take some pictures of this game." And in the photographer's own words, he went to his car, grabbed his camera, and came back and took some pictures. He also said he did not have any pictures from the first half. He did not have any pictures of any relevance to show Wilt scoring any of those points. Really? A guy has 49, 41 points in the first half, and he's on pace to score 80, 90, 100 points. The statistician tells you at halftime, go get your camera. This is a special night. Take some pictures. And you didn't take any pictures? Right? The only two pictures we have are, let's pull them up. We have this one and this one. So let's look at the pictures that we do have. You've all probably seen this one, right? We've all seen this picture. So this picture was taken at the end of the game. We took the picture at the end of the game with him holding up the little piece of paper. That also, so this is why I say, like, the Harvey Pollack thing is interesting, because he says he scored 49, but he didn't. He only scored 41 at half. He says he went out and told the photographer to take pictures in the second half from the stands, and he goes to his car and gets his camera, and he says, "Oh, I don't have any pictures of him scoring any points, but after the game, he goes and says, we don't have anything to, to commemorate this historic night. And so Harvey Pollack says he writes 100 on this piece of paper, gives it to Wilt, and this photographer takes the picture. That's what we're told. That's what we are, been led to believe. The other picture that he took supposedly was this one. And I say supposedly because there's a couple interesting things about this picture. So this is when he scores the 100 and the fans rush the stands. They rush from the stands. I don't know if you can see in the background. I'm going to zoom in. Let me zoom in on this. Can you see? Hold on. See right here? There's one person in the stands. Looks like they're wearing, by the way, a Michael Jackson shirt. I'm just saying. I don't know if you want to go zoom in on that, but I find that kind of interesting, a Michael Jackson picture. So nobody in the stands. I get it that the stadium was half full anyways. But there's nobody in the stands. They've rushed the court after his 100-point game. And this is where it gets interesting because they rushed the court with 48 seconds left. That's when they say he scored. That's where they say he scored his 100th point, and that they didn't finish the game. They didn't finish the game. But then in the scorecards, they say they played all 48 minutes. So which one was it? Did they not finish the game or did they finish the game? We'll get to that in a second. So they have no pics of the first half. They have no pics of him scoring any points. The photographer didn't even have his camera until the second half, after he was told to go get it. And these are the two shots that we have, is the 100-point and this of them rushing the court after he scored his 100 points. So I just want to be clear. The NBA needs publicity. The NBA needs a bigger fan base. The NBA sends teams to go out and play in neutral sites to build up the brand, to build up the league, but they don't send any camera people. And look, games were being televised. Don't be fooled. In 1962, games were being televised, but they don't televise that game. Games were there was a photographer at games. They don't send a photographer they don't have pictures of that game. We're gonna get to the radio and video here in a second. But they don't send a photographer. There's one statistician who happens to be the PR guy. So how can you believe that this actually happened? Other than after the fact, when he didn't, they just said, "Hey, let's do it." All right, Pierre, what? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing it? Because the truth needs to come out. Wilt brought a chip to LA. Wilt did not bring a chip to LA. Wilt was a passenger on a bus when they won their chip. All right, go look at how he played in comparison to Jerry West and Jerry West. He did not bring that championship to LA. Let's be honest. And I am a Laker fan, but he's not a real Laker. Let's be honest. He's just he jumped on the bus there for a minute. So anyways, so that's number two. Number two. So let's recap before we get to number one. And then I will send the link. Maybe I'll send the link now. You know what? Why don't I do that? I'll send the link now. Boom. If anyone has, it doesn't have to be about this, but preferably about the Wilt 100. Here we go. Number 10. The Knicks sender refused to play. Didn't want to be part of the conspiracy. Number 9. The Knicks schemed either to allow him to score or to hold the ball for 24 seconds, like Wilt himself said, to hold the ball for 24 seconds so that he couldn't score, but the Warriors fouled them to get the ball back into Wilt's hands, even though they didn't have enough fouls to prove that. Wilt and the Knicks rode together to and from the game, a 5-hour trip. By the way, let's pause there on that 5-hour trip. I love this one. So Harvey Pollack said it was a 5-hour drive, and that they got there They got there at the same time as Wilt and the players at 5 p.m. and the game was at 8. Wilt says in his book that they were there 6 hours before the game started and they were sitting playing this shooting game in the gallery in the arcade that they have. Well, that would make it 6. That would make it 2 in the afternoon. So okay, it was a long time ago. They forgot. All right, fine. 4-hour difference. They couldn't figure out what time they actually got there. Okay. All right. The scorecard, the mystery, the second scorecard. We've heard that. We've seen multiple scorecards. Just Google it and you will see typed up ones, written up ones, scribbly ones, right? The one official one that I just showed you that sold for $215,000. So you have multiple scorecards, probably more than 2. We know that the NBA needed attention. They were a league that was suffering, that was struggling. And they needed to do something. So why not say, hey, Wilt scored 100? And because it was all over the news. Look at it. Look, it's been 61 years and we're still talking about it. So the publicity worked. Inflated stats. We know in the 60s, they've admitted that the stats were inflated because one person couldn't keep the stats because the game was so fast paced. The pace was so fast that there was no way. And the arenas were smoky. They weren't lit well. So, I'm not being nasty. I mean, I put the link. Come try and prove that it really happened then. Debate any of these factual things. There was one statistician, but we don't even know who that one statistician was because Harvey Pollack said he was the one. And another half of the people say it was Dave Richter. They both went to their grave saying they were the one and only stat guy at that game. I'm looking for other stuff because there's other, number one's going to be a good one. Number 3, the betting scandal. Right? There was money on the line. They needed to show. They needed to show whoever that they needed that this was going to happen. The other thing I should mention, we do have a report because people are asking for proof. We do have a report of one of the people who were near the scorers table saying the game was so fast, it was so kind of hectic and crazy that they couldn't see everything that was going on, and that they just kind of, hey, if someone scored a point, oh, it must have been Wilt. I want to bring you to the second scorecard. I want to pause there for a second. Oh, no, we'll do number 2. Number 2 is there's only one photographer, kind of. There was only one photographer, and he didn't even start taking pictures until the second half. Ara says, is that the music you can hear in the background? Because the truth is out there. And we have it. And we have it here on It's Fluent Top 10s. We have the truth. Pierre, I see you backstage. I'm going to bring you up here in a second. You know what? Go in the private chat, Pierre, and let me know. Do you want to come in before number 1 or after number 1? I'll wait for you to, if you go into where it says chat, just type it in there and let me know because I'll bring you on before if you want. Honorable mention, by the way. Honorable mention was the time traveler theory. After is cool. All right, after is cool. I appreciate that, Pierre. All right, so I want to make sure we got everything of the other things. Oh yeah, so the photographer, just to recap. So the photographer was told at halftime by Harvey Pollack, hey, go get your camera. This is a historic game. You got to be taking some pictures. And he went out at halftime to his car. He was there in the stands with his son. Why is the photographer there if he's not taking pictures? Great question. He goes out to his car. This is documented. You can go look it up yourselves. He goes and gets his camera from his car, and the only 2 pictures he has, not of anything of Wilt scoring any of these points, but just the picture of the crowd rushing the court after the announcer said he has scored 100 points, and the one of him holding up the 100-point sign. Another stat that you might want to look up, and I'm not saying this is impossible because mathematically this is possible. It's possible, but there's no 3-pointers back in those days. The New York Knicks committed 27 fouls. 27 fouls. Before Before we get to number one. So they committed 27 fouls. So let's assume every single foul was a shooting foul. How often was that happen? I would love for someone in the chat to explain this one. They committed 27 fouls, which would, if every single one was a 2-shot foul, they would have shot 54 free throws as a team. 54 free throws. What they shot was 52. So you're telling me only one of those fouls out of the 27 was a non-2-shot foul? One? Maybe two? Was it? No, let me do my math. 57. How do we get to 27. Yeah, one. So 26 of the 27 fouls were 2-shot fouls, and they shot because there's no 3-point fouls. They shot 52 free throws as a team. No, Jay, you did not get 2 free throws for every foul back then. How is that possible? Because if that was the case, Jay, then they would have shot 54. Proves my point. They would have shot 54 free throws. They did not. They shot 52. Now, whether you want to believe the fact that Wilt went 36 of 63 from the field, that's 57%. 28 of 32, so 87.5% from the free throw line. He's a 51%, by the way, free throw shooter. And he shot 88%, call it, for that game. You want to believe that? Believe that. So let's go to number one. Number one. No audio or video. Now, some of you can say, but I've heard the audio. Bull, you know what? Because here's the thing. So Dave Zinkoff from WCAU said that he was speaking with Bill Campbell and he did not make a copy of the broadcast. So you're telling me you're sitting there at WCAU, you're doing the game play-by-play, blah, 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 blah. Wilt has scored 100 points. This is unbelievable. You don't hit copy? You don't make a copy of that game? And then here's the best part. Years later, not days, not months, years later, a random fan who no one knows their name just poof.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Out of the sky comes to him and says, hey, Bill, do you have a copy of the game? And Bill says, I was embarrassed to admit it, but no, I don't have a copy of the game. Oh, well, I recorded the last couple of minutes of it on my recording machine. Here's the last 2-3 minutes of the game. Some random guy.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Poof. Here's the last 2-3 minutes of the game 2-3 years later. And that game, that radio broadcast that he recorded on his recording machine stops when it says, Wilt has scored 100 points. They've rushed the court. This game is not going to end. But the game ended, say some. But the game didn't end, say others. And the radio broadcast says it didn't end. So when you say there's audio, no, there's an audio of this who knows what, some podcast of someone pretending to do a play-by-play at the end of the game where he scored 100 points. You have 2 or 3 minutes out of a 48-minute game that came out 3 years after the fact, and definitely no video. And we've said people, oh no, I saw some video on YouTube. No, you didn't. There was not one video camera there. The best player in the league, 48 and a half minutes per game, 50 points per game, doing a game for publicity in an off-site, in a mutual site game to build up a fan base. That's the game. I get it. The Knicks were bad, but he's the best player. You don't send a camera crew to record it because it's for publicity so that you can show it and have a record of it. Give me a break. Give me a break. Who believes this? Who believes this? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable that there's 3 minutes of audio, no video, and it took 3 years for some random dude who remains nameless that, oh yeah, I recorded on my recording machine. Give me a break. Wilt. Where does Wilt rank now, Boy Wonder? It shouldn't be top 10. Nah, well, no. Does the 100-point game define him? No, I'm just kidding. Should that define him? No. 100-point game shouldn't define him. But let's stop pretending like he did it, right? Let's stop pretending George Marcus. And if you don't know who George Marcus is, go look up who George Marcus was, because he was Wilt Chamberlain in high school, playing professional, scoring 70 points a game. So sure, you want to believe that, you can believe that. All right, we've got 4 minutes left. I think I covered all the points. Pierre, if you're still awake, I'm going to bring you in. Pierre.
Hey, Fluent.
How you doing?
Shout out to you. Shout out to PC and everybody. Like the list, man. For me, you make a lot of sense, but to me, it just seems unlikely that everybody who was there and all the teammates, all the coaches who confirmed it would have been in on it and would have kept the secret going for 50, 60 years.
All right, good. I'll pause you there for a second and ask you. So when you say they were all in on it, would they have to be in on it? How would they know? They weren't keeping track of the score. I'm not saying he didn't score any points. He probably scored a ton of points. And if the scorekeeper said, hey, he's at 87 now, or he's at 92, and coach said, hey, feed him the ball, because the coach also said he put in the bench warmers at the end of the game, which also doesn't make sense when you look at the minutes played, because Paul Arzine, or whatever, I always say his last name wrong, said it played like 47 or 48 minutes. But anyways, they said, they put in the bench warmers to foul the other team, which they didn't, because they had 2 and 1 fouls each. There was only 7 players that dressed. So what bench players? They only had 2 guys on the bench. So that's a lie. But they said they're feeding the ball. So if they put those guys in at some point and said, hey, maybe it's 75, maybe at 80, and said, he has 95 points, those guys wouldn't know. They would say, yeah. And just so you know, the announcer was saying, at a certain point when the scorekeeper, or Dave Richter, we don't know which one of them told the scorekeeper, hey, he's got 90, call it out. So then he was saying 92, and the crowd would scream 92, 94 for Wilt, 94. So the players might have believed that he scored the 100, because they're not keeping score. Don't forget that 316 points were scored. So it's not crazy for them to believe it, because they'd seen him score 70 like a couple weeks earlier, right? It wasn't crazy-ish for that to happen. And the way I can prove it to you a little bit is a game that we have full video of, which is Cheryl Miller. Cheryl Miller scored, I want to say, 107 points or 105 points in a college game. All on tape, fully recorded. Her teammates had no idea. She didn't even know where she was at until she's like, I know I'm having a pretty good game. I think I have like 60, she said. And they're like, yeah, no, you scored 105 or 107. I forget how much it was. And she's like, oh, wow, great. So, players to think that they don't know exactly how many points, I don't think it's crazy.
Okay.
Silence, I win.
No, it's not. I'm being courteous. I'm listening to you and I'm trying to take in what you're saying. And but
because I only have 30 seconds left. Hold on. See right here. I know it's hard to see, but see that where it says free throws made. So you can. That's where the statistician apparently was doing it. Do you see how where's his 28? Where's Wilt's 28? It shows like 6 there. It shows 6 made free throws, which is more realistic for his shooting percentage.
But come on, that's a big discrepancy, right? So wouldn't the players have said, wait, you only shot, or like the players on either team would have said, no, you only shot 6 free throws versus what was actually recorded. But nobody has come forth and said that. None of the players have said that. None of the coaches have said that. It's only the people now are kind of going backwards and trying to disprove something that was done, right? And they're using, these 10 things, and people probably have more things to add to it, but
for sure,
it's hard to discredit the people who are actually there by using logic that isn't.
But the people that were there don't know, right? Like again,
how would we know?
Go to a game. Don't look at the scoreboard. Just watch the game. Don't keep track of it. Smoke about 20 cigarettes and tell me you know how many points each player scored. Impossible.
That was the point that got me, because I used to keep stats, and it's a hell of a hard thing to do, and especially if I were to do it at the pace that they were doing it, dude, that would be something.
Lightning.
That'd be something else.
Oh,
that'd be hard.
Over time, so I'm going to get fired. So I appreciate you.
All right, thank you for the entertainment, and shout out to everybody on PC.
Anytime, brother. Appreciate it.
Take care.
So that's it for It's Fluid Top 10s. You know that he didn't do it. So now you can admit to everybody that Wilt Chamberlain did not score 100 points. It's Fluent Top 10s. I'll see you next week or Thursday on Fluent and Chill. Sorry to whoever's coming up next. I think it's the Dallas Cowboys show. Oh, they want to brag today too. So thanks for being patient. Peace.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.